Welcome to part 24 of the Convergence. This is December 10th, 2022. Lord just reminded me to timestamp. We're talking about confirming the covenant, Israel becoming a nation, so forth. This is part of the convergence, people, whether you know it or not. It's not just about the natural disasters and things like that. This here covenant that they're doing is part of the convergence. So let's get on into this footage.
1948. And here's what's amazing. There was not a peace treaty made until 1979. So Israel becomes a nation May 14th, 1948. And then in 1979, Israel makes its first peace treaty, and that was with Egypt. Then we fast forward to 1994, and then Israel makes a peace treaty with Jordan. So from 1948 going up to the year 1994, there was only two peace treaties made with Israel, and that was with the nations of Egypt and Jordan. And here's where it gets interesting. The Abraham Accords peace train comes next. President Trump, the former president of the United States, and the First Lady participate in an Abraham Accords signing treaty that was on September 15th of 2020, just a couple years ago. So just to reiterate, from 1948 going up to September 15th of 2020, there was only two peace treaties made with Israel, and that was the Israel-Egypt peace treaty in 1979, and then the Israel-Jordan peace treaty in 1994. And then just in one day, September 15th, 2020, the Abraham Accords comes about. On that very day, in the White House lawn, Israel and the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel and Bahrain signed agreements. They signed treaties. And then shortly after that, Sudan and Morocco jumped aboard the Abraham Accords peace train. So all the way up until 2020, there was only two peace treaties made with Israel. And then just in 1 year, the Abraham Accords comes about in 2020. Then we see the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco all jump aboard the Abraham Accords peace train. And then we see Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, actually launched a peace institute to advance the Abraham Accords. So ever since the Abraham Accords came about and these nations started jumping on board the Abraham Accords peace train, we continue to see this major push for other countries to jump aboard this peace train. Sure sounds a lot like many, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where do we hear that? The covenant with many, Daniel 9:27. Now here's where things get very interesting. When Donald Trump was no longer the president of the United States, people simply thought the Abraham Accords was just going to die. That everything that happened, those nations that jumped...
I got news for you. 2024 is ever approaching, and Trump is coming back. I don't care if you believe me or not. He is going to be back. Now, whether will he be set in by election, or will he be appointed by the false prophet? That remains to be seen. We shall see. But of course, if someone is going to declare themselves to be God, they would have to do things the way that God does them. And God didn't do things by electoral vote. He appointed his men to rule by his prophets. Remember that.
Aboard, that was going to end there, and that no other nations were going to jump aboard.
Now note, I'm not saying that's how he's going to do this. He might actually get elected in by the people. Lord knows that they're working on that right now, trying to make sure that happens. But either way it goes, he will be back in office. There is no changing what God has set in motion. This is going to happen. Best not be worshiping the beast. Don't worship any man or any woman. Worship the one true invisible God who is Jesus.
The Abraham Accords peace train. But boy, was that wrong. And here's what I want to share with you. So I just came across this from Israel National News. Check this out. Former Ambassador Danny Danon, peace treaty between Israel and Saudi Arabia this year, referring to the coming year of 2023. Here's what just happened, folks. The first annual Abraham Accords Global Leadership Summit was just held in Rome.
This was just
and
done
it brought
December
together
the 8th.
leaders from over 30 countries. Let me read some of this one to you. World leaders, ambassadors, diplomats, entrepreneurs, lawmakers, academics, and clergy from over 30 countries converged on Rome on Thursday, just this past Thursday, for the first annual Abraham Accords Global Leadership Summit, an invitation-only event focused on new ways to increase peace and tolerance in the spirit of the Abraham Accords. Ambassador Danny Danon presented an optimistic view of Israel's recently elected government. I bring good news from Jerusalem. The new Israeli government's first priority will be to increase the number of signatories to the Abraham Accords. You heard that right, folks. They want to get more people on board the Abraham Accords peace train. Prime Minister Netanyahu's first state visit will be to Abu Dhabi, and we hope that Riyadh will follow. The Abraham Accords were not built in a day. The hardest part was going public. We have been in contact with the Saudis for years. I work personally with them at the United Nations on matters of regional stability and security. It's just a matter of time before courageous leaders step out of the shadows and full peace is achieved between all the descendants of Abraham. This is wild, folks. I expect to see an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia this year, referring to 2023. So no, folks, the Abraham Accords did not die when Trump was no longer president of the United States. In fact, we are seeing a major push, and we just had the first annual Abraham Accords Global Leadership Summit. And then we know that there was leaders from over 30 different countries there. And we're saying the whole point is they want to bring more signatories. They want to get more nations aboard this peace treaty. Because right now, again, we had Israel-Egypt peace treaty in 1979, Israel-Jordan peace treaty in 1994. Then the Abraham Accords peace train arrives. And then in 2020, the Abraham Accords, we get the signing ceremony on the White House lawn. The UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan all jump aboard the Abraham Accords peace train. And now we're seeing this annual summit that just occurred. They're saying Saudi Arabia is the next one, most likely, that's going to join in this coming year of 2023. And now in this coming year, even the end of this year, really, and going into 2023, their whole focus is getting more signatories, more nations to jump aboard the peace train with Israel. I mean, folks, you cannot make this stuff up. Something is going on here. Many are getting involved. It just started off with Egypt and Jordan, 1979 and 1994. Then you had the Abraham Accords. You had all those nations jump aboard the Abraham Accords peace train. And now we're seeing all these other countries attending this summit, these leaders. And now they're talking about not only Saudi Arabia jumping aboard the Abraham Accords peace train, but many other signatories that are talking about jumping on the Abraham Accords peace train with the nation of Israel. Here's what's going on, folks. So again, I am not saying the Abraham Accords is the Daniel 9:27 covenant. What we do know, according to Scripture, is when...
If it look like a duck, waddle like a duck, quack like a duck, have webbed feet like a duck, it a duck. Don't be afraid to call things like it is. They might kill you, but they can't eat you. Jesus won't let them. I mean, come on. They can't even kill you unless Jesus lets them. We got to quit being afraid of everything man can do. Man can't do nothing what God don't allow it. And if he don't allow it, it ain't going to happen. Everybody need to quit being afraid of these devils and start handling these serpents and handling them the correct way. Called casting them out, not allowing them. You're afraid to pray and fast a little bit, afraid to give up a little bit of food. And quit trying to change God's ways and make them your ways. If you want to fast of your electronics, you want to fast of your coffee, you want to fast of all that stuff, that's fine, that's well and good. But when God needs you to fast, you give up your food and you give it up right. The way that he told Daniel and them to do things. You do right. You want something from God, you can't just bend things to your will. You got to do things God's way.
The Antichrist does come onto the world scene after the rapture of the church, and he confirms, he's going to strengthen, he confirms the covenant with many. He's going to modify, make changes, make something greater that's already been brought out between Israel and the many. And once that's confirmed, that's what starts Daniel's 70th week. That's what will start the 7-year tribulation period. But what's amazing about the Abraham Accords,
Trump started this. Trump is going to finish this. Whether y'all like it or not. Y'all don't get to choose. God's done set this into motion. This was set into motion a long time ago. And ain't nothing nobody on earth living today can do nothing about. God put this in motion a long time ago.
Is we see many that are getting involved. So, when the time does come, the Abraham Accords is looking like it's going to be involved, folks. The Antichrist is going to, whether he's going to make changes to the Abraham Accords, modifications, he's going to make it greater. Whatever is going to happen, the Abraham Accords is playing its role in laying the groundwork for the coming Daniel 9:27 covenant. I had to share the news with you today when I saw they just held the first annual Abraham Accords Global Summit, and over 30 leaders from different countries were there, and they're all talking about Saudi Arabia's next, and how other countries are talking about becoming signatories, signing on the dotted line of the Abraham Accords. Folks, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is setting the stage for the coming Daniel 9:27 covenant. And if we know the rapture of the Church of Jesus Christ needs to occur before the Antichrist is revealed and before he confirms this covenant with many to start the 7-year tribulation period, how close are we to the rapture? I would say a lot closer than people realize. And as we go into 2023, Lord willing, unless Jesus comes first, we're watching every day on this channel, you're going to see more countries jumping aboard the Abraham Accords peace train. This is amazing stuff we're watching, folks. We are seeing the tribulation period casting its shadow on the earth right here.
Woo! How blessed are you, children of God? How excited are you that you are going to see the rapture of the church? The catching away of the church. You're gonna see your Father soon. You're gonna see your Father soon. But many of you aren't excited at all because you were living in this world and you said, oh, I had plans. Don't worry. God's going to leave you in the tribulation. You can go on and live out your plans as best you can underneath the Antichrist. You best be chucking them plans down and grabbing onto him. Because when he returns and sets foot on Mount Olive, it's done. And he's coming back to convict the ungodly then. Jude 14 and 15. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out of this, and I'm going to cut into part 25 of the Convergence. I'll see you in part 25.